card spade suit by responding 1 no trump, so shows the 6 hearts instead, and that prompts South to raise on Queen Doubleton.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, David.
Very prompt. Did you enjoy your massage?
I did, yes. It was wonderful. So, here we are. France, China, for the first time. Yes, oh, good. Then we covered most teams by now.
The hands fit fairly well, and certainly cards lie kindly for declarer. The spades are perfect. King of Hearts is in front of the Queen, so it looks like a comfortable make.
Yes, yes, indeed. Right, if you have enough entries, you may take a double finesse in hearts, but I think you just play hearts from hand. Yes, yes, we saw the Butler ranking for the first time in today's bulletin. I read it early this morning. And indeed, Laurentini and Quentin led the Butler table after the round robin. And the Chinese pair, 5th.
So, not only are we watching a great match, Clash of Giants, but two of the most informed pairs at this championship. Should be a great session. Who else was up the top of the Butler table, Roland? I haven't seen it myself.
Well, I didn't pay much attention, David, I have to say. I just saw number 1, actually. And just looked at, you know, the various teams to see how they did and which pairs did better than other pairs. And, you know, it's also a little random, isn't it? I mean, if some pairs play against weaker teams and other pairs play against all the strong teams, then it's not really fair, you know. So it's only a guideline, really.
That's completely true. But of course, when you've been playing for quite a long time, a week, then that evens out some of the bumps due to luck. And we did discuss over one match whether in fact if you did have a weaker pair, perhaps containing the guy who's putting up the money, then it's not that clear that they should play against the weaker teams rather than the stronger ones, because you may want your 4 professionals to completely crunch up the teams down the bottom of the table to get a nice bundle of victory points. So that's sort of open to debate, although most people do think you should play the weaker pair against the weaker teams.
Oh, we have Stanley, Magic 49, back with us this morning. Hello, Stanley. 505, where you are?
Yes, good to see you again.
Morning, all I got. You probably got the same, David. Who is or was Butler? Mr. Butler, who devised that calculation method? I don't know. I can look it up. Well, I think I read about it at some point, but obviously I can't remember. Can you, David? No, what a silly question. Don't you ask me to remember anything of that kind.
Are you referring to William Butler, born in 1928 in Philadelphia? No, that's a joke. I haven't got the faintest idea. Anyway, we don't much care about the name Butler, but I'll just quickly mention what it is. It's an idea of how you can evaluate the contribution made by each individual pairs rather than just looking at how well a team has done. So you take their own scores from all the matches and you imp it up against the datum score for everyone that held those cards. So if they made 620 and the average, some people didn't bid it, so the average on the board was 380, they would get so many imps for that. You add it all together, of course be totally tedious to do it by hand, so it's done by computer, and you can then work out whether pairs were above average or below average with their datum score. And if any pair manages to get an average one whole imp over all the boards you play in a week, that is a huge butler score, plus 1.0. Sometimes some pairs are playing exceptionally well and you see scores of 1.4, which is almost magical. And half the pairs will have plus datum of plus butler score and half will have minus. You can even, if you're that way inclined, see which pair did worst in the whole field. But as Roland said, there's some sort of luck, because if people happen to bid a slam against you, say that wonderful 7 spade slam we saw Ola and Mikhail Rimstedt bid the other day, it's not your fault if they bid a grand slam, but you're going to lose a huge number on that particular board, and that will move your average down a bit.
Yes, indeed. And you're absolutely correct regarding average, but I think the real term is datum, isn't it, David? Datum
yes.
score.
Yes, but that's the same thing, of course. You can actually get events at your local club if they've got the software. So you play it like an ordinary pairs tournament, and then the scoring is not by match points, but it's called the butler pairs. And everyone will not get match points, they will get imps, because the software will again calculate the date on every board and work out the difference between the score you made and the datum, convert that to imps, and add up the imps for everyone. So it's like playing teams, except that you're just representing yourself as a partnership, and the movement is the same as in ordinary duplicate pairs.
Yes, that's true, David. But in match points often discard the top and bottom result, don't you, to get a more fair datum score, to avoid distortions by one madman at some table who bid 7 no trumps or 4 aces and 4 kings.
Yes, that's certainly a good idea when the field is relatively small. But you think they don't do that in the big tournament like this with a lot of people?
Well, yesterday I can tell you that on board in the last set, board 6 it was, where you're off 2 aces and the king in one of those suits, one pair, too modest to mention who, bid to 7 no trumps, off cards and ace of clubs. Sorry, ace king of hearts and ace king of clubs. I don't even know if it was doubled. I haven't looked it up. It was in the seniors, David.
Right, well, some pair obviously had what they call a senior moment. The other name for it is Roman keycard cock-up, because when that first came in there were any number of disasters reported for one reason or another by people using a slightly more complicated Roman keycard blackwood, which is almost universal now.
Yes, on the very same board. Another pair had an accident, not in the seniors, when they played in 5 hearts on a 5-0 fit, Queen Jack 10 to 5 opposite avoid, when they were called for 6 spades and 6 diamonds. lost 18 imps as a result, minus 400 plus the 1370 from the other table. Accidents happen, David.
Right. Well, we're very lucky to have Patrick Huang doing written commentary. He will be, he's a former Bermuda Bowl star. He won't mind me saying that was several years ago. And he will be an expert on the east-west bidding system, so may rescue Roland and me on occasion.
Yes, indeed. They play precision. I asked Patrick, same Patrick Huang, I think 4 or 5 years ago, what is the favorite system in China, mainline? And he said it's roughly 50-50. 50% precision, 50% standard. That surprised me because I thought they would have more precisioners. How about you, David? What would your estimate have been?
It would have been along the same lines as yours, yes. We tend to imagine Chinese pairs playing precision because C.C. Wei, the shipping magnate, invented it sometime around about 1970. So no need for anyone to look it up and say, oh, you were wrong by 3, Mr. Bird. Anyway, about then. However, there's so much more written material and examples of bidding on the internet of the standard systems, for example 2/1 or standard American, and not so much about precision. So only youngsters wanting to learn the game in China, with of course access to some internet which is probably 10 times as fast as my own machine, they will find it easier perhaps to learn the standard system. That may be the reason.
Now everyone is familiar with the unusual 2-note trumps, and not so many club players familiar with the unusual 4-note trumps. Here we see an example where West overcalled 2 clubs, show a club suit obviously, and now he's offering his partner a choice of games, either clubs, his suit, or diamonds, promising that he has a diamond suit on the side. That's the unusual 4-note trumps.
Of course, it was natural for North to come in, equally natural for South to bid 3 spades, but one is left wondering if East-West were just given these 2 hands to bid on their own, that they might possibly bid 1 diamond, 2 clubs, 2 no trumps, 3 no trumps. Not saying they should, but I mean it's a bit of a bidding test really, to see if you can find out that although you've got 10 tricks at least, you've got 9 tricks, say maybe 1 more if the diamonds come in, you are losing too many tricks in the majors and you want to be in the minor suit game. So on the face of it, it looks as if they're doing well East-West, although North has had a 3-spade response, which is what dog didn't bark in the middle of the night on a previous round of the auction.
I'm asked what's the difference between 4-note trumps and 4 spades by West. Well, I think both bits would show both minors, but maybe 4 spades tends to show a spade void. I don't know. I've never used 4 spades in this situation, but I suppose you can, especially if you are void 3, 4, 6. Why not 4 spades rather than 4-note trumps? But it's a matter of discussion.
Yes, it's not a bid to spring on your partner really. 4-note trumps is completely clear. Can't possibly be Blackwood because no suit has been agreed. So that is obviously exactly how Roland explained it. 4 spades might have your partner scratching his head for a while and thinking, what on earth's going on? How can he start showing shortage in spades when we haven't even agreed a suit? I mean, it might be thought possibly to be bid on a very good club suit, and you would rely on partner bidding 4 no trumps if he had diamonds as well, and therefore 4 spades could be thought to be ace, king, queens of 6 or 7 clubs and a singleton spade. It's open to debate, and it's very, very risky to start inventing bids at the table and thinking that, well, if it goes wrong, I'm sure I'm in the right and I can blame partner. That's not much good for the partnership, is it?
A double of 4 no trumps. It took a while, but let's pretend that it was bid in tempo. I would regard double now as I'd like to bid on partner, but I'm not sure. What do you think? Should we defend or should we bid to 5 spades?
Indeed. It's called an action double, really, and you see it a lot more in bidding competitions in magazines than you do at the table, because it's a sort of easy bid to make on some tricky problems posed in a magazine. Your partner's going to have to make the final decision, and therefore he is the one who will be under the spotlight and might be blamed. But here it's a good bid, and we saw another example of it on a hand recently where someone had overcalled 2 clubs on a really good hand, and they bid up to 4 of a major, and he doubled that to say, oh, well, I think we should probably sacrifice in 5 clubs, but leave in the double if you've got some defence. And on that occasion his partner had an absolutely worthless hand, but he did have 3 clubs and a singleton spade. So even on a Yarborough, he was well advised to bid 5 clubs, which would have been only 300 down, but having no points at all, he passed, and they conceded 790.
Is there an issue in the play with trumps 4-0? Let's see. Well, obviously you can pick it up, but what about the 4th diamond? Well, you can take a finesse against the jack of hearts, or you can squeeze north in the red suits. I mean, it's not laid down when diamonds are not 3-3.
No, the odds of the heart finesse are probably at least 2 to 1 in favour of it, because North has shown both majors and South has strongly preferred spades, so you'd expect North to have more hearts than South.
I think he will take the heart finesse for his 11th trick.
Yes, he won't want to do it before he's tested the diamonds, of course, and maybe that option will not be still available at that time. We'll see how the defence goes.
Well, it depends if he has a spade left in his hand to rough it to get to the dummy. But he won't have that, won't he? Will he? Now, if they continue spades, they remove his penultimate spade. And when later he leads a heart to the queen, and ace, North will remove West last spade. But then he is in dummy. Okay, so then he can take the heart finesse. Well, it's a vain hope, I think, for North to, I mean, to think that the partner has the king of hearts on this auction when they are game after East opened the bidding, so he will continue spades. And even if partner had the king of hearts, wouldn't declare a lose 2 hearts anyway. West is playing the West is playing the contract. Sorry, yeah, he bid clubs first. And David, you know what? You had a point earlier. Maybe you didn't think it would materialize. You said something about three-note trumps, didn't you? You say uncontested. You know, they may get to...
So you've just seen some contracts elsewhere, have you?
I have. And it was Levin and Weinstein bid to three-note trumps down one here, where they bid to 5 clubs in the other room. In the USA 1 match against Bulgaria.
Couldn't really happen after the start here because North and South had obvious values to contest with.
Yeah, down 1 should have been down 2. 3-note trumps, that is. But maybe North-South blocked their spades, so they could only take 4 spade tricks and the ace of hearts. We don't know. But the swing it was 10 imps.
So even if we're blithely saying test the diamonds and then finesse the hearts, well, it's not that obvious, is it? And that's why the declarer's thinking for so long, because if you've used the ace of diamonds up, then they can just duck the first round of hearts and you'll have no entry back to dummy. So no wonder de Declarer's thinking carefully how to arrange the play.
Now getting more and more interesting in that match USA 1 Bulgaria, because it went 1-note trump by East, so a mini-note trump of some kind, 3-note trumps by West, and Norse doubled, Rutwell doubled, asking partner to I don't know, to lead his shorter major. That would normally be the case. And then East-West ran to 5 clubs. But wouldn't South have led a heart? But that would be good enough. Then it would take 5 spade tricks after that.
It's a very strange double because he didn't particularly want to have a heart lead, did he, with those good spades? So you probably should have left a partner to find a lead. As Roland said, I mean, North knows that South is probably going to be quite weak and therefore not inclined to lead from Jack to 5 clubs or something. Probably will try to find partner suit. And if he wants to lead a spade, that'll be absolutely fine. You might make 4 spades or 5 spades plus the ace of hearts, so that's rather a strange double. Perhaps he thought that West might be making a complete spoof bid on a very weak hand, and that his partner hadn't been able to come in over 1-note trump, and they had a major suit game on. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe he thought 3-note trumps was cold, and that he wanted them to run to 4 clubs.
Well, might not be cold, because he knows they've got bad breaks everywhere. In any case, I don't think many pairs will raise straight to 3-note trumps on the West hand. You know, a lot of people they bid 3 spades to say, I've got a singleton here. And then you have to know whether they're showing 4 hearts or they're denying 4 hearts. Or you can just take it more slowly. You can bid, say, if you bid a forcing bid, 2 spades to show clubs. If you don't play 4 suit transfers, you can bid 2 clubs, 2 hearts, 3 clubs to say that you've got long clubs, and that's forcing, and that means that you can sniff the chance of an 11-trick game, because if you thought your hand was pretty weak and the only chance would be a 9-trick game, you would never mention your clubs. You would do what Weinstein and Levin did, raise directly to 3-note trumps. So that seems a bit of a lazy bid. I'm not saying that 3 spades is a good bid, because you don't have any sport for hearts and you don't want partner choosing that, but I think some people would transfer into clubs and then bid spades to say, I've got long clubs and a singleton spade, over to you, partner. That's the best way to bid it. 2 spades, 3 clubs, 3 spades. Now, no such nonsense like that at our table. They've both bid brilliantly to 5 clubs, so that's very well done.
Yeah, still wondering how they got to 3-note trumps. Still wondering. I don't think East would open his balanced 11 count, not Levin Weinstein. And if he doesn't, it goes past 1 club. And surely North will get in with 2 clubs. For the majors, Michael's cubit. No, sorry. He has only 4 spades, sorry. But he'll get in with 1 heart. Oh, I see. He'll get in with 1 heart. And then he said, well, I have a maximum for my initial pass, and I have king 10 to 4 hearts. Let me go for no trump. Aha, that could have been the case, couldn't it? So Jan has a pretty good picture of North hand now. He will make it. It's just a question of when it will happen. Oh God, God declare us wrong all the time. Sorry, it is die playing.
Declarer should look at the bidding and see that South surely has a 5-card spade suit for bidding 3 spades. And that strongly suggests that North has got 4 diamonds. He's already shown void in clubs. So 4-5-4 is what we're looking at. And if Declarer... Right, they've taken the first heart. Now they play another. Now they play a diamond now. Anyway, so Declarer might take that view that he can read North for 4 diamonds, and therefore that he is going to have to finish the 10 of hearts. Here he's not even... I see, he's playing for the squeeze, yeah.
Well,
right.
Jack dropping, the 10 is high now, and he has a claim.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a very sound point, yes. Anyway, they bid it well, and they both managed to make it, so top quality.
Four, 13 opposite 14 should produce a game. No fit. Well, you have a minor suit fit. But you want to avoid 5 of a minor if 3-note trumps is an option. Since you have all suits stopped, twice even, you want to go for 3-note trumps unless you want to investigate slam, and I don't think that anyone will. 2 diamonds is the multi, the dreaded multi in North America. Redouble, played by many as bit your suit, partner. Pass would show diamonds. Redouble, bit your major, partner. And if you bit something, it would be own suit.
lots of different methods available when you play the multi. Another one is to play that you bid 2 hearts if you're happy for partner to bid on in spades, and 2 spades as normal if you're happy for him to bid on in hearts. You bid 2 no trumps, the normal relay bid to inquire further on a strong hand, ignoring the double. And then you just have to decide between pass and redouble what they're saying about how strongly you fancy playing in diamonds. Right, so East had nothing to say over the redouble, seeing as re-redoubles are not allowed. Obvious to pass for the moment on such a flat hand. For one thing, East wants to find out what suit South has just as much as North does. So now he bids 3 no trumps.
But, as we see, if South can find the spade lead, the 9 of spades, the contract will go down because North spades are good enough, and he has the entry in clubs.
Well, of course we can say South's only got 2 spades, so that lead would be double dummy, but it's not quite double dummy, of course, because East has jumped to 3 no trumps, and most players do that. They usually have a double stopper in hearts. It's not guaranteed. And of course you're expecting maybe West will have half the points out, and your partner might have good spades and is not that likely to have good hearts after the jump to 3 no trumps. So I'm not saying you should lead a spade, but on the other hand, South's got a pretty weak hand with no hint of a side entry outside hearts. Seems likely that East, at the very worst, will be able to hold up an ace. So he's going to have the ace for his jump to 3 no trumps. So a heart lead, at best it seems, is going to be neutral and give nothing away, and you might well try some other suit when your own hand is so weak.
Before the start of this morning's play, Bulgaria were 24 imps behind against USA 1, but they earned 22 in just 3 boards and are only 2 behind at this moment. And USA 1 fielding the strongest pairs.
Yes, we can't tell whether Rodwell's double of 3 no trumps was helpful or not, the one that shunted them into a making 5 clubs. It depends whether Mexroth would have found a good lead, a major suit lead in other words, against 3 no trumps. He probably would, so that double has contributed towards the gap being closed.
I'm told on this board, Levin and Weinstein let North-South play in 2 hearts, uncontested, and Bulgarians bit 3 no trumps in the other room. Well, that's interesting. Now say South opens a weak to something like 2 hearts. in. I think that's the consensus among expert players, that you need to get in immediately over the multi with a hand like West, because it's so difficult to describe it later if you don't. But it could have been a weak two, of course, two hearts rather than two diamonds. Wouldn't you still have doubled, David? I know there's a risk for partner with three clubs. And then three diamonds, is that just ELC, equal level conversion, or does it show a hand too strong to overcall three diamonds?
I think if partner bid three clubs, you'd have to leave it. You've only got 13, and he's not showing anything particular, and he's probably got a 5-card suit. When he bids the most expensive suit, you can't afford to go bidding again on that West hand, whatever three diamonds would mean.
No, but on the other hand, three clubs is constructive for most people, isn't it? They play less.
Yes.
So let's see if this is an opening in precision for West. Most precisioners open 11 counts. It shows 11 to 15, and here we have it. Natural one, no trump overcall. South will transfer to his hearts, most likely, either at the 2 or the 4 level, and 4 hearts will be reached.
So, we'll have started with 4 game contracts, and the previous 3 were made on the nose, as the expression goes, exactly made, no overtricks.
And here's another with 10 tricks, because you must lose 1 club, 1 diamond, and 1 heart when trumps don't split.
Score may end up being 0-0 in our match, but as we've already heard from Roland, there are people falling off the tightrope in other matches.
So Texas 4 diamonds. Four diamonds to show hearts, 4 hearts would show spades. You play regular Texas, some play South African Texas, and then South would have bid 4 clubs to show hearts, 4 diamonds if he had spades.
One of the first pairs to use that method, in fact they were using the original method where 4 hearts shows spades and 4 diamonds shows hearts, was Terence Rees and Boris Shapiro, and they had a jocular agreement that if anyone ever forgot it and passed 4 hearts, that would be a £10 fine. Not particularly much, but more in those days than it is now. And when Boris forgot it once and said, "Oh, just have to, this is stupid paying a £10 fine," Rees said, "Yes, I agree, yes, we're going to have to make it 20 or you'll forget again."
And that's the danger of playing normal Texas, is that partner forgets. Well, four hearts looks so natural, doesn't it? Whereas if you play South African Texas, partner would never pass four clubs or four diamonds. And that is one of the reasons why Max Sapphire from South Africa devised that convention. That's why it's called South African Texas. Max Sapphire. You can look it up if you want to.
Of course, to transfer the declarership to the other hand, you could use a simple transfer at the 2 level, 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, and then raise to 4. But this sort of transfer is often used facing an opening 1 no trump bid, sometimes a weak no trump even, and you bid 4 diamonds, the 4 level transfer, on a lot of hands where you're very keen to try and shut out a cheap sacrifice or even a making game. You've got a long major but not many points, and that's the advantage of the 4 level preempt transfer. Another use for it is to bid 4 diamonds to show good hearts, say, and when partner bids 4 no trumps, you can continue with 4 no trumps, which now is Roman key card for hearts. You've set the trump suit, and now you can bid 4 no trumps. And it's not so easy to get into a sort of asking 4 no trump bid once partner's owned 1 no trump. For example, if you transfer with 2 diamonds to 2 hearts and then bid 4 no trumps, that's widely played as being invitational to slam but non-forcing.
Now let's see, will we get a swing finally? In the other room, North opened 1 diamond, precision diamond. East overcalled a spade, North doubled, negative double. West jumped to 3 spades, pass back to North, and it was difficult for him not to bid 3 no trumps, wasn't it? Here they have a chance of avoiding game when North passes. Two clubs inverted, an inverted race. Remember to discuss with your partner, if you play inverted races, if they are on by a passed hand. I think they should be, but you need an agreement.
The first time people started opening on rubbish 11 counts with 8 losers, I was a bit sniffy about it, and everyone thought I was old-fashioned, and basically I've come round to the idea that with so many people doing it, and a lot of them depending on it for their livelihood, it must be a good idea. But opening on a 10 count when you're only naming a diamond suit and a 4-5 hand, well, you know, of course I shouldn't judge by results, but I don't really see what you're achieving. You're not shutting out spade overcalls, are you? Why do you want to open when you're not even bidding a 5-card suit? And I mean, partner's got a juicy 14 count. Is he not meant to bid 3 no trumps? I mean, probably we'll see that it was not too bad. I suppose they might have made it, yes, with the ace of spades on side. And if you make 5 club tricks, 5, 6, 7, you've got 8 tricks. You still need to guess the diamonds. Okay, well, there was some play for it. But even so, I'm not really a fan of opening 10 counts. It's not going to cause any damage to anyone.
No. Another point you need to discuss with your partner is it on inverted races after an overcall, after interference? Is it on after a takeout double? You can play it the way you like, but you need an agreement. Here you need an agreement, passed hand, and also if your right-hand opponent overcalls or doubles.
So South is able to bid 2 no trumps because his partner has shown 10 points up with the inverted raise. Now, I don't think that North will he's not likely. Will he bid 3 no trumps or not? I don't know. May bid something, may even double to ask partner what to do. Then partner can still bid 3 no trumps if he's got a good stopper. Yes, I expect he'll double. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Now here you also have to discuss over 2 spades. How much does 2 no trumps promise? Point-wise, and regarding spade stoppers or stopper or stoppers, what would pass mean? Balanced hand, weak, without a spade stopper maybe? You see, there's a lot of material for discussion here. And we see it all here. 2 clubs as well as 2 no trumps.
Right, well I think that Quentin is assuming that his partner will realise he doesn't have a 15 to 17 hand because he didn't open 1 no trump, so he's happy to bid it on 2 no trumps. Indeed, if he had 15 upwards and was facing an inverted raise, he would have now bid 3 no trumps instead of 2 no trumps. Right, North did double, and now it's a tricky one for South. He doesn't really fancy 3 no trumps, he's only got 1 stopper. There's not necessarily expecting the clubs to come in. On the other hand, should he defend if they've got 24 points? What tricks can they actually make? 1 spade, maybe 2 hearts, and the diamond. Well, who can say if they're going to make 3 spades? It's going to be pretty scrappy. So it's a tricky business now for South.
It is. You would really love to redouble to say, I have no bid, partner. Well, he was forced into 3 no trumps, wasn't he? I mean, 4 clubs who would show real clubs, and he doesn't have them. And he can't really bid 3 no trumps as doubt showing. I'm not sure, partner. Do you think we have enough in spades? How is North supposed to know?
The thing is that even if North wouldn't like to pass 3 spades, and I can see he has got 5 card support, but his partner may only have 3 clubs, so I mean there was some option. Most people would double, as I suggested before he'd decided, but it's not out of the question to pass when you've shown a 10 count and you don't expect partner to have 15. And I can understand why South doesn't particularly fancy 3 no trumps, but he doesn't fancy defending 3 spades either. That would be risky.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think the pass would be a logical alternative for North. He already showed his hand when he bid 2 clubs, didn't he? Wow. Well, that took out insurance, and that was not the right time to do it, since 3 no trumps would have been an easy down.
There are various reasons why 4 spades is wrong. The preemption by East-West up to 3 spades created a real problem for South. And he guessed what to do. He may or may not have guessed right. That's one reason, that you shouldn't hand them even 300 on a plate just when they've had to make a tricky guess and may have got it wrong. The other reason it's wrong is because he has a void club and declarer may not have any source of tricks outside. It looks for all the world as if he's bid it on only 1 spade stopper and the clubs may not be coming in, and East has another ace. So I think we can say we're not judging by results when we say that 4 spades was a poorly judged bid. I recently wrote a book, Famous Bridge Swings, where I looked at, they're all from World Championship level, So I spent sort of 6 months or so looking at hands where players at the top level had got wrong competitive bidding hands, and it's not good enough just to say, oh, well, 5 hearts is wrong. You've got to try and put down on paper what the reasons are for that not being a good bid, and you do that as you look only at that one hand and the bidding. And here the reasons are that you've got a second ace, that South has been put in a difficult decision, and it looks like he's having to gamble it with only one spade stopper, and you can set up the spades, you've got an ace, and the clubs may not break, so that's enough reason not to be letting them off the hook. Generally, when you preempt and force people to a decision, you don't bid one more and say, oh well, I don't know if you've guessed it right or not, but I'm going to give you a big number anyway.
Well, it won't be that expensive. South cannot lead more trumps without giving up on his trump trick, and if East North had won this trick, he couldn't continue trumps. So it's not a disaster, and it looks like down 1 to me. But then again, 7 imps, you know, close match.
Yeah, it's going to play better than expected, as Roland said. Like a nice cross rough lined up.
Well, South can play another trump to cut down on the cross rough, but then he won't get a trump trick. So I don't think it matters what South does. Now the reason, one further point, why I think North should have passed over 3 spades is that he did show that he had 10-11 points when he bid 2 clubs, and also he showed that he had 5 clubs, because you need 5 clubs to bid 2 clubs opposite what could easily be 3. So I don't think he had anything to add. It must be up to partner now to decide what to do. He did have extra shape. Well, it's pointed out. Well, yeah. Well, true. It could have been balanced. It wouldn't help South to go in with the king here of spades to clear the trump suit, because now the three of diamonds has been set up.
Well, at least South is pretty pleased that he didn't pass three spades doubled at this stage, you can say that. Yes, I'm beginning to slightly soften my views about four spades actually, because it's true East had some shape and three no trumps might have been on. North has to cover this.
That would be a good idea, but not covering with the queen, David.
No, not much point in that. So he can guess that South will have the 8. And if East had it, it wouldn't make much difference. Yeah, well done. Well, North-South didn't do or have to do anything clever in the defence to beat this. But we all know that defences can often screw up, and you can often give away a vital trick in defence. Players that can just step through these defences and not do anything silly or unlucky are going to come out top of the pile. Defending is always tricky. Even contracts that look as if they must go 2 down, once you mess up in one suit and give away one trick, it's easy to start panicking and then make some desperate switch you don't need to make and end up giving that away. So defense is always difficult and also incredibly important, as we know.
Right. Pass, West will open. I don't know, there are no trump range in original position.
Didn't we? On a hand with that shape over a diamond.
Yes, it was in the European, and they also won something in China. And one of the pairs won the European Championships pairs in Budapest, as you may recall. Assolin and Levy, they won the women's pairs. So they have a decent team.
Well, indeed, bronze medal in the European is pretty good. There's so many strong teams in Europe, as we know. Right, I'm just going to pop over to the other table to save the boards. Be back in a moment.
Now, what about East Overcall? I'm asked. Well, it depends on style. Some don't have any quads. Some do. They focus on suit quality, first of all. And it's not exactly lead directing. What is my style? Well, I like a good suit for an overcall. But I know that world-class players, many world-class players, overcall every time they have an opportunity and 5 cards, especially in a major. We've seen that on so many occasions. Versace, Lauria, before them, Tony and Nunes, Bocchi, you know, they all overcall. Rothwell and Maxwell's also, by the way, so it's probably profitable in the long run. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it.
Now, of course, North is probably going to find some action here, but had he passed, East would obviously pass 2 hearts because West is a passed hand. It's a long-running debate whether 2 hearts should be forcing if West is not a passed hand, and most people play that it is, if only for simplicity. That's what most of the teachers teach because it's so easy to teach.
Having a hard time. The man, 18 high, very good intermediates. And although partner didn't bid over one spade, they could have a game on. He could have a hand without 4 hearts and with no spade stopper, where he was unable to bid. I can understand 2 no trumps. You may argue, well, the opponent's bid 1 spade and 2 hearts. How can partner have anything at all? But you see, they overcall lights. They overcall very lights. These could have had less than he actually has. Wasn't so long ago, was it, where we saw one vulnerable overcall on Jack to 5 and an outside queen.
Yes, well, that was a complete joke by normal standards. And South does not have enough to bid 3 no trumps, and he has to judge now whether he thinks partner will have longish diamonds. See, 2 no trumps would normally be bid on a hand where the diamonds were close to being set up. North has only really ventured it here because he has a double stopper in both the majors. They may not play that well because, well, we'll see what damage they can do with a major suit lead.
A lot of damage on a hard lead, I would say.
Right, now you see how silly it would be for West to cover the Jack with the Queen. Hope that's not an example of commentator's curse. That's the trouble though, if you
No.
lead low from 3 low, your partner might in theory have king to 3 hearts.
In that case, it's also wrong to cover, because that declarer has 2 stoppers anyway, David, so it's always
Yes,
right to
exactly.
to play low.
Indeed.
Amos, wasn't it very aggressive by West to bet 2 hearts? I don't think so. He's a passed hand, so he doesn't have 6 hearts. He would have opened the weak 2 if he had. He has a 5-card suit and some tolerance for spades. His partner doesn't like hearts, and that's indeed what he has. King Jack in partner suit, 10 high card points, passed hand. I think 2 hearts is just fine. I'm sure David agrees with me.
Yes, it's a minimum, and it starts to look bad when you put it opposite the east hand. But partner's good, and if he's overcalled on an 8 count, you may get one too high. Well, so what? You know, you're just got to consider what's best in the long run, and with a 10 count, including King Jack in partner spade suit and an ace, well, I mean, you've absolutely got to bet 2 hearts. Although we've not had many sort of particularly interesting boards, for some reason I can almost sort of sense the tension in this match, as if every board is very, very important, and I think that may be because we've reached the knockout stage when you just cannot afford to lose a single match or you're out. And the difference between going out in this round and getting into the semi-final, where you've got 2 chances of winning a medal, either if you win the semi-final and get through to the gold-silver match, or if you get into the playoff for bronze, is enormous. And the margin of 22 is nothing much when you've got so many boards still to come. How many is it? 40 odd still to go.
Yes. The reason some think that 2 hearts is aggressive, it's because they believe that you cannot have an opener when you overcall, that you must start with a double, and that is completely wrong. That was the case 50 years ago, where you could just double on any hand type if you had 13 points. But now you can overcall with up to like 17, 18 points. If you have a preference, by all means, overcall.
If you read bidding magazines of 50 years ago, even for people playing in world championships or the spin gold or something, some of the bidding looks quite ridiculous, and so it would be by today's standards, and it's really amazing that people held on to these ideas, particularly the idea of a free bid where you don't raise partner if he's going to have another chance. Absolute nonsense. And the same with this idea about doubling on all hands of opening bid strength. How ridiculous to not show your partner a 5-card suit and allow him to raise, and then he doesn't know how high he should go because you may have some hand which is completely out of shape for what we regard as a normal take-out double. So really, I mean, even top pairs playing in our national events, I'm sure they would have finished ahead of the international teams of 60 years ago.
Phone call, urgent phone call. Yes, yes, indeed. So, one more question from the same kibitzer. Well, fair questions, I like them. Just ask all you like. Well, how can partner tell whether you have 8 points or 15 or 16 points when that is the range for an overcall? He can't. But he will find out. If he has a bid, he will bid. And then, if you have extra values for your overcall, you will show it on your second turn. So don't worry about that. An overcall at the 1 level is wide-ranging, like 7-8 to like 17. At the 2 level should be like 10 to 17. That's how I teach. Double if you have a preference, or if you're too strong to overcall, like say you have 19-20, then you can double and bid your suit next.
Saying that an opening bid also has a range not far off 10 points, so and we're not worried about that, are we? So it's just the same when partners overcalled. The important thing is to find a fit.
Exactly. I mean, when you open, I mean, it's wide-ranging. It's like 11 to 21. So when you overcall, it's just a different range, 8 to 17. But having said that, it's also fair to stress that defensive bidding is not as accurate as offensive bidding.
That is one of the reasons why you see people opening on pretty awful 10 and 11 counts. So declarer's got one more spade stopper left. Looks like only 3 club tricks. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like he's starting off with 8 tricks, which is the case with most of the 3-no trump problem play hands, you see, or a good number of them. Declarer is not that keen to open up one of the red suits at this stage, so he's playing on a suit where he holds the top cards. Now, you don't really do that often because you may need the suit which has got 3 top winners to use them as entries, and you should start working on the suits where you need extra tricks. It's one of the mistakes that beginners often make. They can say they just race to take the tricks that they can see and not realize that you should be racing to get the extra tricks that you need before the defender set up their long suit.
In other matches after board 8, USA 1, Bulgaria, a tie now, 127 each. USA 2, however, doing extremely well against Sweden, up by 58 now. It was 44 before start of play today.
So the hearts don't look very promising. The declarer may go for the diamonds now. They're offside though. So let's just see how they manage to pocket 460 so easily at the other table.
That's a very good score. 11 tricks. And I have also the running score in the last Bermuda Bowl quarterfinal. Netherlands against New Zealand, and New Zealand up by 5. Very good effort by them. They were behind by 10 when we started this morning. Sorry, David.
Right.
Over to you.
At the other table, the French East led the Queen of Hearts, having overcalled 2 spades over 1 no trump. So that was just a bit too brilliant.
Now you
Gave
can work
declarer
on
4 heart tricks.
Heart tricks, yes.
So, even if Lorenzini makes 9 tricks, he's going to really have to work hard for it. And when he says plus 400 very happily at the comparison, they'll say 460 away, as if, gosh, no over tricks.
Yeah. So
right,
now
well, this suit,
he sees that he can't get more club tricks.
no, but he's beginning to put some pressure on East now, so he may need to do that after the less generous opening lead.
Yeah, right. Max Truss went 1 down on a spade lead. The contract made in the other room on a diamond lead.
Yes, heart or a diamond, totally disastrous.
What now, from the declarer's point of view? He has 3 tricks. 1 club is 4, 2 diamonds is 6, 1 heart is 7, and another spade is 8. So he needs to set up a 9th trick somehow. Queen of diamonds on side would of course be his 9th trick. But now East discarded a spade. So that's good news in a sense for Norse, because now he knows that East must be guarding the red suits, right? Both red suits. He doesn't want to part with a red card. So perhaps it's good enough for him to work on hearts now, is it? Well, he only has 1 more entry, and he can only play heart once, and then they can knock out his entry to the... Well, they can't. Isn't that good enough now, David, now that he's parted with a spade? And he can work on hearts now? That's the cards lie.
Yes, looks like it. I mean, you'd sort of think, oh well, maybe he'll just finesse the Jack or 9 of diamonds and hope that he gets a 9th trick on a plate, but that involves using up the only entry left to dummy.
Yes, dummy has 2 entries, and he knows the king of spades, king of diamonds, so he would probably go after hearts now. That's my guess. And that will be success. Oh, wrong I was. Let's see. So intentionally took an entry away. What happens if East ducks this? Or wins and plays another. Ah, that's an end play on East, is there not? If you unblock the king of diamonds and then play ace of hearts heart, then East will be a stepping stone, an end play, as it is into your ace jack. That's successful, isn't it?
Yes, I think he has played it very well. Playing those clubs, even just playing a 2nd club, forced East to weaken his hand.
and you have to play East for both heart honors. It's pretty likely. Yeah, I think he'll go for that line. King of diamonds, heart to the ace, heart. And that will end play East.
If he was going to play East for everything, then he had the option of cashing the Queen of Clubs as well, which would have forced yet another discard from the East hand. Of course, the one spade overcall, as we've already discussed, doesn't promise points, so he had no reason particularly to place the 3 red suit honors. Or he hasn't cashed the King of Diamonds.
He doesn't have to, because he has an entry to his hand in clubs, David. So he can stand a diamond switch. You may argue that the suit is blocked, but he has an entry in clubs. So he doesn't have to unblock the king.
He doesn't really want to either, in case... Well, I suppose he knows what East has got, basically, or what he needs him to have. Couldn't really hold King Queen Doubleton.
So here comes the end play. Nothing East can do. Well, he can cash a spade for the time being. Nice play by Declarer. I think David, I think he played it well.
Right, yes indeed, and we know from the fact that Mextroth went down on the same lead that it wasn't automatic at all to make it here, and he's rescued his partner from a fairly moderate shot on opening lead. Might have worked, I suppose, but not very likely when you've got 11 points leading a short suit. Even if you hit partner with something good, he may not have any entries. So I think a spade lead was called for, and that made Declarer work for his money. Right, well that was hard work, and some of you may have found it hard work to watch, but these are the sort of hands that count for such a lot. And I remember many years ago watching there's nothing wrong with bidding that. Pretty annoying for China if France stopped short.
Well, it's a little more, isn't it? On the hard finesse. You also need something good to happen in clubs.
Yes, looks like you might be able to make it if West had a singleton club. If the heart finesse was right.
Mm. Three clubs, jump, shift, game forcing, so you can just hit three diamonds, you don't have to jump anywhere. And only now will South show that he has values with four hearts, cubit.
So they're going to get to slam now. I mean, we saw a hand several days ago where not many people had reached a Grand Slam, and Orkan and Welland had reached it, but that was because Sabina Orkan had just taken a bit of a gamble on an ace-king to 5 side suit, hoping that partner's values included enough to avoid a loser in that suit and bid the Grand Slam on that basis, as far as I can see. So, I mean, once Lorenzini knows of 2 major suit aces, becomes absolutely huge.
Yes. So he will probably proceed with Roman key card now. Get 2 key cards. There might even be a Grand Slam on from his point of view. I mean, South is unlimited at this point.
Yes, well, that reminds me of another slam we saw where the Grand was on, because in the ace-king to 5 suit, partner had Queen-Jack Doubleton, but in fact Declarer jumped all the way to 6 spades at his second turn because he realized it would be too difficult to check up on key cards. I think he had a void as well, and even if he could manage to agree spades on his fabulous hand and bid Roman key card, he would never be able to check up on the losers in clubs. So he just gave up and led straight to 6 on the second round, and I said there was nothing wrong in doing that at all, giving no information away and just realizing that you wouldn't be too difficult to be certain of a Grand Slam, so just bid the small slam. Four hearts is very much what Lorenzini wanted to hear, to be sure there was a heart control. Of course, if partner makes any sort of try and you've got all that in the minors, then it'd be pretty unlucky if there were 2 top heart losers, but it could be possible.
The spectator tells me that 6 clubs can be made. I haven't analyzed 6 clubs, but I suppose he's right, otherwise he wouldn't send me that message. They won't get to 6 clubs. I wonder what 5 clubs is all about.
It's just a cubit, I suppose.
Yep. But how do they know how many key cards they have between them when they pass for no clubs? I never understood that.
Oh well, that's really unlucky for China.
Wow.
no idea what they were doing.
Did Five Clubs show key cards rather than ask for them? That would be pretty unusual for a French pair if they played the turbo convention.
Just makes no sense at all. I mean, Five Clubs must deny the ace of spades, and South has got it and hasn't showed it. Anyway, there we go.
Even Five Diamonds hasn't made yet.
Well, could be an unlucky hand if you tried a low, drew trumps and played low towards the jack, and the single queen went in. No, that doesn't matter, does it? You've got ace king jack against the other one. Well, you more than a heart and a club. Well, China can be thankful that it's not vulnerable, but really, this is an example of the big net swing when the two pairs are at a different level, and according to how the cards lie, you either gain a lot or lose a lot, and there's about 20 plus ints going just on a question of which way Lady Luck is facing.
Yeah, I don't think it's over yet, David. The double dummy, yes, you can make it, but will you? You see, if you draw all trumps, then it's too late to take a heart finesse, because if that loses, they will cash spades. So it's not at all clear how you should play the hand from here. Maybe you should give up a heart now. Maybe ace of hearts, heart. No, you can't do that, because then they take a club rub. No, that doesn't work. Yeah, may require an in play. It's a tough hand, even in 5. Let's see, if you draw all trumps and throw spades from the dummy, what will West discard on 4 diamonds? He has to keep his clubs, obviously, so he has to throw 4 cards. That will have to be 2 hearts and 2 spades. And then you can in-play him. That's right.
Well, he's having to do a lot of hard work, Lorenzini. Worth it in the quarter-final of the...
Well, you know, it's quite interesting, because I haven't analyzed it in detail, but maybe West had to unblock one of his spade honors at trick 1. Is that the case? And that partner guard the spade suit. He has promised the 9 when he led the 10. But it's so difficult to see at trick 1, isn't it? That's interesting. Would that have helped? Now, he cannot avoid the end play as it is. He can bear the king of hearts as his best shot, hoping that declarer will take a heart finesse. Extremely complex hand. If you use this, David, you have to run it through deep finesse to see if West could have defeated the contract if he had unblocked the spade honor at trick 1.
I don't really understand that the spades come into it. I mean, isn't he just going to have to win the 4th club and lead a heart? Oh, then there's no entry back to the 5th club, is there? Oh no, well, you've got the Queen of Hearts, so he's going to have to ditch his spades anyway, isn't
he? Yeah, but only with 2 spades and 2 hearts.
Well, he has to hold on to the club.
Yes.
Does that not bring him down to a club and 2 hearts? He declares 1 trick short of the target, and they've got 10 tricks. 3 clubs, 5 diamonds is 8, and 2 aces is 10.
Oh yes.
So that should work.
Yes, he can't afford. He doesn't have a discard on the last trump. That's true. He can afford to discard 3 cards, 2 hearts and 1 spade. But let's see, if he then discards his penultimate spade on the last trump, then what happens? Well, that's okay, isn't it? But he still has a spade left. Well, maybe that doesn't work. 4 diamonds. He throws 2 hearts and 2 spades. And what can declarer do from there? He can't end play him now, because then he has a spade to cash. was last year.
Well, as we might expect, it seems as if the standard of play is really rising up like a thermometer on a hot day. Once we reach the knockout stages, every trick is fought for pretty tenaciously, and that was a couple of fine boards by a France North player. Well done.
Now I'm reliably informed that it was the 2015 Player of the Year title he won. ACBL. Right. So you can add that, David.
Well, I've just heard that the English ladies team lost 11 imps with exactly the same comparison, 6 diamonds minus 3 and 5 diamonds equal. So that's unlucky for them and unlucky for China.
Oh yes, indeed, but it might not have got a spade lead, and it's extremely difficult on a spade lead, much easier on a hard lead.
Gosh, well, 4 hearts is pushing it. And it's got 4 losers off the top on a diamond switch, obviously. I mean, Patrick is pointing out that 3 hearts would only be competitive, not invitational, but it's a borderline invite anyway. I suppose you've got the king of spades over the ace. Yes, that's true.
I sent you a private message, David. Please confirm.
Well, there again we see the lead of the low card from 3 small, and keeping it hidden whether you've got an honor or not, which is sort of commonplace in the USA, and Terence Reese used to think it was great, but can make defending more difficult if you don't know whether partner is leading from spot cards or for an honor. I suppose it's true to say there's no hurry to try and take diamond tricks, because North's opened are done. Couldn't throw them all away anyway. Defenders need only 2 diamonds to break the contract, so West is happy to put the queen in. So China go plus at both tables for a small gain. Although we like big hands and the odd spectacular hand, really once you get down to the knockouts, and it means so much for these teams to win, then as I am, you just feel the tension in the air and feel how hard they're fighting for every trick, every contract, and somehow that makes it well worth watching, whatever the contract is. Now South is vulnerable and not inclined to fly the flag with some spade bid. Some versions of precision one hard is forcing. Pretty certain that West is not going to stop short of four hearts, or even if he did, East wouldn't. So I don't know that it matters too much, these exchanges. At the other table, the ace of spades was led. North opened the bidding and South responded a spade. So it went to diamond, a spade, won no trump, and then East doubled. And that was because he had short spades and didn't like to double on the first.
More information about Cédric Laurent-Sydney. He was the first person and the youngest person to ever win the title, according to an article on Bridge Winners. He was 26 at the time when he won the prize, so he must be 28 now. Yeah, well, absolutely, yes. And that's quite for a foreign player. I mean, by the ACBL, isn't it? They would normally award prizes to Americans and not foreigners. I believe it was David, but yeah, I mean, player of the year, so it might not have been the same team all year through, although it often is. 2015, and he has won 2 pairs events, and one national, one with Thomas Bessis and one with Quentin, his partner now. I have now a link to the article on Bridge Winners in case you're interested. So if you want to read about the young man, Laurent Sini, it is there. 2015 Player of the Year title. Many thanks to our spectators for sending us useful information. Much appreciated. We can't thank every one of you, but you know, I hope you're happy with just being thanked. We get much useful information from our listeners, and that's just great. David, you went to the other room. Did you see the lineup there? Did you see if it was Rambaud and Comscure for France? Yeah. Well, I thought so, because I see Thomas Bessis.
Basically natural bridge and still managed to finish ahead of the Bermuda Bowl qualifying table, so that's great, easy for us to watch, and great for all the French supporters who can watch their stars and understand what's going on all the time, because they're playing pretty similar system to the one that they do. So it looks like de Clercq can just survive, although playing off the ace of trumps was not particularly successful. At least the clubs are breaking.
Sorry about that. I was thrown out from BBO. Took me a while to get back. Does that ever happen to you, David? Connection closed.
Connection closed. Yeah, it has, but actually it's just a problem at our own home address, because since I switched to a new company for my connection, it's been pretty reliable. Usual speeds up to 30, and you find you're getting 9, and which is just about their minimum legal requirement.
Is that BT?
No, it's not. It's not BT, but I can't remember who it is.
Right.
Anyway, it depends on what sort of wire you've got coming up your street. You know, the up to means that you've got to live next door to some post office or something.
Well, getting worse for the great Swedes. They're now 74 imps behind against USA 2. That is a lot to recover, with only 32 boards to go, plus a bit. Of course, 3 or 4 boards here.
Yes, we watched a session of that match yesterday, didn't we? And the magic was still on for the Swedish team. They'd done so well in the qualifying rounds and were playing well yesterday. And I think I asked you which team you favoured in that match, and it was a difficult decision to make because the Swedes had played brilliantly in this tournament, but the USA players had so much more experience of playing at the top level. And in the end it seems that that experience has maybe won the day. But a fabulous tournament for Sweden. Fabulous that they qualified all 3 teams. Fabulous that on the famous wonderful Wednesday at one stage they were lying first in all 3 round robins, unbelievably. So they can be well pleased with their efforts.
Yes, but it must have been really bad this morning, because they've lost 50. They were only behind by 24 overnight.
True enough, but anyway, you can put it down to a match that you were never destined to win, probably, if you lose by that amount. Much more unsettling to lose by 6, particularly if it was you that happened to make the last mistake in the 6th session, and everyone is going to remember that.
Got a message. Actually, Sweden is 74 behind. That's exactly what I said. I said they were 24 behind after yesterday, and that they lost 50 today. Well, that must be 74.
Sadly, I hear England are losing this set badly too. 42-8 in the Venice Cup, and are now only 1 imp ahead of Russia, with 1 board and 2 more sets to go. Of course, that Russian team is pretty strong. I think all teams left are pretty strong in the quarterfinals.
Yes, but although it looks very bad for Sweden Open, it looks so much better for the women and the seniors. The women were behind by 10 against Israel this morning, before this morning, and now they're up by 24. And the seniors had a great day yesterday and extending the lead, so they're up by around 70 in their match against Australia. So it looks like Sweden will get 2 teams through to the semi-finals, and that is great.
What big names do you have playing for the senior team in Sweden?
Well, I'm sure you know one of them.
Sylvan?
No, out.
Ah, yes, indeed, yeah. The only thing I know about
The
Swedish
parrot.
players, even if is that they're bound to be annoyingly good looking.
Yes, especially on the women's team. That's right, David. The Rimstedt sisters, Ida Grönqvist, Emma Uvelius, they are all very pretty.
Yes, and as you yourself are half Swedish, half Danish, that means that half of you is very good looking, but we can't make up our mind which half.
It's the upper half.
Right, I'll take your word for it. A very cheeky Kibitzer says it's your back. Your back is best looking.
Oh, we're having fun, and why not? This is just a lowly two-spade contract. I mean, we can't really focus on such a lowly contract. Let's have some fun. I mean, this is supposed to be entertaining also, educational, yes, but also entertaining, and I hope you appreciate that. Two grumpy old men in the commentary box having some fun. How bad is that?
Gosh, I've been absolutely straining my back, you know, trying to not be grumpy today. It's got to be compared against my average amount of grumpiness, and it must be better compared with that. Even though I support so strongly as a shocking session, they will return in the next session.
A female American kid tells me, well, Laurent is pretty darn cute too. He is. Even from a man's point of view, he is good looking.
Well, at this time of the match we look back and think, have the boards been good? And they haven't been particularly good, have they? Just got an 11, a 7, a 6, a 3, a 2 and a 1 and a whole barrage of flat boards. Well, that's partly because the players been of an excellent standard, and partly because you just get a different mixture of boards every time you watch on BBO. They've been good enough, and watching any of these knockout matches is good enough entertainment for me.
I think, I mean, 24 and 25, just great boards, and I'm just pleased, you know, to watch those sports, to see how bridge can be played. So that's enough for me, David. I know 2D is not enough for you. I'm sure you get some more.
Yes, I've marked that 19 was interesting on a lead problem, and I mean they did pretty well to get to 5 clubs on 18. You can always find something to write up. Anyway, we're not complaining. How many splendid boards have we seen in the last few days, and in fact throughout the whole tournament? Absolutely marvellous. We've had 2 absolutely classic, wonderful hands on the last 2 days. So
Yeah, no accidents. Yeah, some dubious decisions, yes, but nothing really silly. Like, you know, like yesterday when we saw a pair in 7-0 trumps off ace king, and a pair in 5 hearts with 5 hearts to the queen jack opposite a void. Nothing of that, you know.
well, even that was a little bit unlucky to find those 2 ace kings offside.
Yes, well, it was actually the Swedish ladies yesterday in five hearts, one pair. But, making up for it, it was the same person who bit Exclusion Blackwood with Herb Void, who found the lead of the nine of spades, David, against Reno Trumps today. So that is revenge, isn't it?
Oh, is that right? The nine of spades was found. That
Yes.
was, that must be the hand where I was saying there was an opening lead. Was that board 19 marks?
Yes.
An opening lead problem.
Ida Grönqvist from Sweden, yes. She found the lead of the nine of spades to defeat the contract.
Right. Well, she may well get a mention. Right, I'm told the Russian South also found the nine of spades lead against England, and that was against three no trumps doubled. Wow.
Wow, indeed. Well, England were, before the last set yesterday, England were 55 or 56 imps ahead, I think. They lost some ground in the third set yesterday, and before today's play, they were only 35 ahead.
That's right, they lost 20 imps in the third session just after I'd sent Sally Brock a email of congratulation on their good start in the match. Still, I like sandwiches and six-set matches which have a good start, rocky middle and a good finish. They're okay, according to me.
Yeah. Another drab board, I'm afraid, David. Nothing to write home about here. It's just the most standard of standard three trump contracts.
We said about 2 hours ago that we were watching the pairs that had come first and fifth in the Butler of the qualifying round, and I mentioned how wonderful plus one imp above average per board would be, and Patrick Huang is just telling us in fact that the north-south pair that came first, Lorenzini and Quantin, were plus 0.88. So the fact that that top score is below 1 shows us that the standard is pretty good throughout the field.
So West will open a diamond and East will bid something forcing.
Yeah, oh well, the boards have been hard work for the players and a little hard work for us watching. But a lot of good bridge is a question of grinding it out, taking the trouble to count all the points, count all the distribution, read all the cards, what you can't tell by observation. You just have to calculate what the odds are, choose the best player, and you may find it goes down anyway. Not an easy game, a difficult game, but that is why the rewards are so sweet if you manage to do well at it.
Okay, so he's in range for 1-0 trump, Patrick Huang tells us. Maybe they have different ranges according to vulnerability. So maybe 1-0 trump non-vulnerable is 13-15. or 12-14, who knows. So they're taking a break, convenience break, I presume. It would be, please David to hear that they're not allowed to smoke at any time, anywhere, in the building or around the building outside, while play is in progress.
Right, well that wasn't the case during this bridge holiday that I was invited to in Savoie, which I mentioned yesterday. Every time we ate out in some cafe that had some awning up, everyone was allowed to smoke underneath it. Same with the cafes in the cities, there was a pretty heavy smoking. But anyway, good news as far as the players are concerned. Remember reading in ACBL bulletins many years ago when the US teams came over to play championships in Europe and smoking was allowed everywhere. Someone just wrote in the ACBL bulletin, these Europeans don't seem to have heard of lung cancer. thought that would cheer everyone up. Yeah, well, you're dead right, summing up the hand anyway. Full spades. No.
Yeah, they're not cancelling any boards. This is not America. World Championships, they don't cancel any boards. If they're late, they just give them penalty points. It's as easy as that. I'm asked about the afternoon program on VGraph. I can tell you that all 4 Bermuda Bowl matches will be on, and then one from the Venice Cup, and the last round in the qualifying not decided yet.
Right, well, South has got a pretty shapely hand, but again, this is looking pretty flat with the clubs 2-2. If they were 3-1, then maybe they could get ace of clubs, club rough, heart honour, possibly under leading the ace and the second club rough, but they're 2-2, so no swings here. But still, a difference of 29. That still makes it an interesting watch with 32 boards left, and as various teams have proved even in this particular session, sadly including England women, you can lose quite a lot in one session. You can even lose more than 29 in one session, of course you can. So all to play for, and it's time now for me to thank our wonderful view graph operator, Margarita Chavaria. Thanks very much. Sterling performance, every bit as good as that of the players, which has also been wonderful, so let's congratulate them. And am I allowed to say in particular Lorenzini, who starred on those 2 boards 24 and 25, impressed us all with his play and had us looking up in Google to see about the awards he'd won in the past. Exchange together, seeing what we can conjure up to say for 2 hours odd, and thanks to coming in such vast numbers, 2,500 we had at one stage. Thanks to BBO as always for providing the platform, and they'll soon be finished on this board. Nothing much to the play.
Already, actually. Thank you, David. Play will resume in 1 hour and 3 minutes. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.